Just to call him a dad, I mean, that's what Abba means, daddy. But it's this reality that it really hits when you become a parent, because you see your kid and you're like, I would do anything for you. Like, and how much more me as a flawed human who's constantly questioning if I'm even doing a good job as a parent, I would do anything for him. And how much more God, as a perfect dad, does he feel that way towards us?
Please welcome to the TBN UK studio, Abbie Gamboa.
Hello, thank you for having me.
To have you.
Thank you.
So this is your first time at Big Church Festival.
Yes, my first time in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you finding it so far?
It's been beautiful.
Yeah.
We literally just got here yesterday morning, so we've just been kind of soaking in the grounds. We've really only been here. We went to Brighton to have dinner with some friends last night, and
lovely.
It's beautiful.
Oh, so you're part of Upperroom, which is based out of Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
And I'm sure many people would know Upperroom, incredible albums and worship moments that we all get to experience here in the UK through the music that you guys release. But I'd love to know what your journey was to starting, working with Upperroom.
Yeah, it was very organic. Very simple. My family, we're from a little suburb of Dallas, about 30 minutes south of Dallas, and we found Upperroom and just made the drive every week for a while. We went and it instantly felt like home. So I was just coming. I ended up moving to Dallas, and it just very quickly became like my home, even outside of my family. Not all of my family goes anymore. But I started serving in the prayer room pretty early on. We have a prayer room morning, noon, and night. So it's not quite 24 hours, but it's pretty close.
Wow.
And the prayer room just kind of became this really safe, beautiful space for me. I found this beautiful, heart for the city, like a real passion for my city, praying and interceding over the city, which is really the heart of our prayer room. So anyway, and everything else is kind of history. I found it in 2012, 2013,
Okay, wow.
Became home very quickly. Now I'm like very planted there. My husband and I met my husband there.
Oh, lovely.
We're both still apart.
Wow.
It's very much just home, very much family.
And where did music come into it? Because you lead worship there.
Yeah.
You're part of the team that writes the songs that we listen to.
Yeah.
So when did that journey happen?
So the prayer room is where it all stems from, but we started releasing little drips of our culture. That's our pastor got a word and he saw an IV bag, and it was our culture at Upperroom dripping through the IV into culture at large, specifically Gen Zs and millennials. And we hadn't released anything, any of our sermons, any of our worship, nothing. We were actually kind of hard to find for a long time. We didn't have social media, a website, nothing. So in I'm going to get the years wrong. I think it was 2017 was when the first moment came out, and we just started doing YouTube for a while, and it worked. People were getting really moved and touched, and so it kind of slowly but surely became recordings, but it started out just YouTube, and it's evolved over the years a little bit. It's crazy to see how people have been impacted by something that started so just like there was no motive for it to become what it is now.
And so organic, which is
so
amazing.
Organic.
So over almost a decade that you've been there, really, is there one song or one moment that really stands out for you as just like a very pivotal moment in your life?
Yeah, specifically at Upperroom?
Yeah.
I would say a song that I was a part of, or just a song in general?
Oh, a song in general.
Well, I would say one that just changed my life is Move Your Heart. I didn't even write on that song. It's some friends of mine. Yeah. I felt like that song gave me language to talk to God in a way I hadn't known how to. But for me, this song, I Just Love You, is one of my songs. And it was one of the first songs that I got to be a part of at Upperroom that felt like it was my true heart towards the Lord. So it was really cool being like in the context of home and family, because in a community like ours, really any community, there's an aspect of submitting to the culture. Like, I'm not just coming in and doing whatever the heck I want because there's freedom. I'm coming in and I am myself, but it's under a greater vision than myself. And so that song was really special because it felt like it felt like, though we sing all these songs that are true and beautiful, that one was like, oh, everyone's connecting to this, but it also feels like I'm singing it from my truest self, if that makes sense. I don't quite know how to say it.
That must be quite a vulnerable thing, though, to be like, this is a song that you're singing to God.
Yeah.
It's maybe a private moment, even when you wrote it.
Yeah.
And now thousands, if not millions, are singing it all around the world.
It's
and it
crazy.
Started off with something that was just you and God. So that must be quite a moment to think about, especially when you lead that song with so many people.
Yeah, it's a really special one to me.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And is there a moment as well, because you grew up in a Christian home and you have been part of Upperroom for quite a while now, but when was the moment when you really felt that calling to go into worship and become a worship leader?
I don't know that I ever had a moment where I felt it. When I actually told this story recently, but when my mom was pregnant with me, she had a ton of anxiety around my due date. My due date was like really off, not like, okay, due dates are relative. It was like weeks later. I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks off from when she thought I was coming. So she had a ton of anxiety. And she was at this really prophetic church at the time, and they had a night where they prophesied over me in her womb.
Wow.
And all of the words were about worship, spontaneous and prophetic worship, and how it would be becoming more normal in the earth when I was kind of coming into myself. Yeah. And so she talked about it my whole life growing up. Abbie, like, these are the words of your life.
Wow.
And obviously, as a little girl, I was like, Mom, leave me.
It.
Yeah, stop telling people, stop talking about it.
Let me go my own path.
Yeah, but she really called it out of me. And there was one a church that my family and I were going to in Grand Prairie, Texas. So random. And this couple really took me under their wing. I was like 12 years old. Wow. And it really was because of my mom. She was like, she has all these words over her life, like so sweet. And they were like, we would love to just like really love on her and teach her and bring things out of her. And so from an early age, I've been slowly becoming more seasoned.
And how special that your mum was kind of leading that, and probably in a loving way. You know what I mean? Of like, this is my child. This is what's been spoken over her. She was there when you were in her stomach. And now look at what you're doing. Wow.
I didn't understand it then, but now being a mom, I have a 2.5-year-old, and I was so annoyed with my mom so many times. And now I see the beauty of it, because I'm just like, she really believed all those things that were said about me, even though she didn't even know me yet.
Wow, that's
and then even getting to know me, calling that truth out of me. So
you've just released your most recent album is called Pure, and it's one of my favorites. I love listening to it in its entirety, and there's a lot I need to ask you about with this. There's a few songs that I need to know about. But before we get into the songs, where did this album come from? When did you start writing it, and what was your hope for this album?
We had a very intentional, it was me, my husband, and his brother, and one other friend produced it. Nice. So it was kind of a team of 4 of us, and then Upperroom was really behind the album. So it was like a solo artist project under the umbrella of Upperroom. So there were a couple of people that were kind of in all of those conversations with us from the early days of the album, planning and dreaming for it. And we really just wanted it to be this thing of honesty before God, almost uncomfortably so, where I wanted to talk about things that maybe it's not normal to talk about. It's maybe not okay to talk about in whatever context, specifically in the church. But then I also envisioned people who maybe never would set foot in a church, making these songs like attainable for even them. So we kept it very, very, for lack of a better word, pure, which is kind of where the name came from. It was this like, okay, this is this honest expression to God and for God. And everything was very intentional. It was really, really, truly like, what needs to be here and what doesn't. Like, I want this to be so bare that the words almost like make you want to crawl outside of your skin because you have to sit with what's being said.
I feel that.
So even like the sounds that were added, the restraint of sound, it was all very intentional.
Wow.
So many of the songs, we put a bunch of production into it and then took so much of it away because we were just like, this isn't serving.
You wanted it to be pure. You wanted it to, wow. So there's one song called Moonflower.
Yes.
And the lyric says, I heard about a garden somewhere south of London where moonflowers are hanging overhead.
Yep.
We're in England, so where is this moonflower?
It's literally here. I'm like freaking out.
Oh my God.
On the grounds.
Wow.
I haven't found it yet. I was telling you before the interview, I've like walked through all the gardens.
Okay.
And I have a friend who's coming who's been there, so I'm going to have her take me to the Moonflower Garden, but it's here.
Wow.
My friend Jason Upton came, I don't think it was for Big Church though, I think it was for David's tent years ago, and he went to the garden at night.
Yeah.
If you have even been around him for like 30 minutes, you know he tells stories. He's a huge storyteller. He like lives telling stories. Wow. So we were writing for the album and he's telling us all these stories and he starts telling us about this time he was here. And he said, so I walked out to the garden. I'd just gotten to the grounds, just kind of wanted to explore. And he walked in, he said, I smelled this insane aroma, like it took over my body. I can't even like describe it. It was crazy. I thought he was going to say like he had an angelic encounter or something. Like the way he was describing it, it felt heavenly, the smell. And so he just kind of stayed there, sat for a while, left, came back the next morning, and the smell was gone. And there was a gardener nearby, and he was like, I was here last night. What was that smell? It was crazy. And he described it to her. And she said, that was the moonflowers. Their fragrance only comes out at night. They bloom all day, but their fragrance only comes out at night. And he said, it just got me thinking, like, what kind of beauty comes out of the dark? And we all were sitting there. We're like,
there's a song in that.
Yes.
Wow.
So we wrote the whole song kind of around that concept, like finding beauty in the dark, even like past finding redemption in dark seasons, finding the beauty inside of it and where God is. And so we wrote this whole song and then we were like, but we want it to hit us the way that story did. And so my friend Joel was writing with us and he was like, what if we just tell the story? Just like Jason told us. And he was like, we could just say like, I heard about a garden. And then we told the story. So that's kind of why it ends that way. Wow. Because the song is telling the story in a more broad way. But then we were like, no, we got to hone in and just say exactly what was said. Yeah. So
because it's at the end of the song as well. And it leaves you with that moment that's like, oh my gosh, I need to research this and find out more.
Yes.
Wow. Gosh, that's so
and
good.
If you do research moonflowers, it's kind of crazy. Just all the layers of depth.
Yeah.
And even just if you really like dive in, just the revelation that it can give your heart of truly learning to find God in the dark.
So good.
Yeah.
Wow. And share with me quickly about the song Dad Song.
Yes.
Because this is another beautiful song.
Yes.
So share with me where this one was birthed from.
It's one of my favorites on the album too. I wrote it all with parents. So me as a mom, and then it was, I think, I'm going to get all the numbers wrong. I want to say it was 3 mom friends and then 2 dad friends. So it was all parents. Okay. And we were like, we should write a song from God's perspective as a dad specifically. And so we did, and we used language like we would talk about our kids or to our kids. And it was really healing. I think that's been like the theme, at least from just stories I've heard of people listening to the album, is this healing balm, really, of seeing God as a dad. Because I think like we say Abba Father, and it's like all of these like really beautiful, tender words, but just to call him a dad, I mean, that's what Abba means, daddy. But it's this reality that it really hits when you become a parent, because you see your kid and you're like, I would do anything for you. Like, and how much more me as a flawed human who's constantly questioning if I'm even doing a good job as a parent, I would do anything for him. And how much more God as a perfect dad does he feel that way towards us?
That's so good.
So that's really where it came from. Sometimes I just play it over myself, and like,
so good.
And even the bridge where it says like, if you've ever held a dream in your arms, like holding your baby for the first time, and you're like, you're a dream fulfilled in the flesh, and that's how he feels about us, but so much more than we can even comprehend.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving us the language for that, though, in that song,
Yeah.
Dad's song, because it's beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
the whole album, Pure, I like how you called it a healing balm, because it really is that. It's just so pure. And the journey that you take us on through it is beautiful. So thank you for putting that together and putting it out in the world for all of us to listen to. And I hope that you are able to find the Moonflower on this beautiful estate.
It's got to be here somewhere.
Where are you, Moonflower? We will find you. You've got to tell me where it is.
Okay, I will.
But you're going to be at the worship tent.
Yes.
And just have the best weekend, Abbie.
Thank you. I'm really excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me here in the studio.
Thank you for having me.